The train shrieked, iron screaming against iron, and dust boiled up from the tracks. A door slammed open. Boots hit the ground hard. The whistle cut through the heat like a knife, and the engine groaned as if it hated stopping at all. Clara Whitfield stepped down into the grit. The platform boards creaked under her heel, dry wind tugging at her dress. The sign above her head was half rotted. The town's name burned away by sun and time. She tightened her grip on the carpetbag, blinking against the glare. This wasn't her stop. The thought came sharp as a blade. But before she could turn back, a hand caught her skirt. Small fingers clutched the fabric like claws in the dust. She looked down. A little girl, barefoot, sunburnt, hair tangled like horse mane, stared up at her, eyes wide, raw with hunger and something darker. "Daddy needs you," the girl whispered, voice raspy as if she hadn't spoken in days. The wind rattled the windows of the depot. A door slammed somewhere, and a man spat into the dirt without looking at them. The girl's grip tightened. Clara froze. The train hissed behind her, impatient, alive with smoke and fire. She could still climb back on. She could still make her true stop, still step into the life waiting for her elsewhere. But the girl's hand wouldn't let go. The child tugged hard, almost yanking Clara off balance. "Please, Mama said you'd come." Her voice was fierce, desperate, not the whining of a lost child, but the command of one who believed. Clara's throat dried. She glanced at the station master, but he looked away, shoving his hat lower, pretending not to hear. No one met her eyes. No one dared. Something was wrong in this place. The girl pulled again, harder. Clara's boots scuffed across the boards, her bag swinging against her hip. "He's dying," the child said. "Wait." Clara tried, but the word died. The girl had already slipped into the street, dragging her into the open. The town lay bare under the late sun, wide road of packed earth between leaning false front buildings. Saloons shuttered, curtains drawn. Not a soul stood outside. Yet Clara felt eyes watching from behind slats and cracks. The girl didn't look back. She moved quick, weaving through shadows, skirts flapping. Clara followed, heart thudding. They cut down a narrow alley, past a horse tied tight, foam at its mouth, eyes rolling wild. Flies buzzed thick. The smell of blood close in the air, though no wound showed on the beast. The girl darted ahead, and Clara's breath caught as she stepped into open land. Beyond the last row of buildings stretched a plain of brittle grass, all scorched gold, framed by redstone rising jagged against the sky. The sun beat merciless. The girl ran toward a squat ranch house leaning against the canyon's edge. Its roof sagged, its windows clouded with dust. Chickens scattered before them, feathers kicking up dirt. At the threshold, the child spun, panting, and pushed the door wide. Clara hesitated. The stench met her first, iron and sweat, old sickness. The shadows inside swallowed the last of the sun. The girl's eyes glowed. "He's in here. You gotta help." Clara's hand trembled on her bag strap. She should turn. She should walk back to the platform, climb aboard, and leave this mistake behind. But something in the girl's eyes rooted her where she stood. She stepped in. The floor groaned under her weight. The room was dim, air thick. A lantern burned low, its glass blackened with soot. In the corner, on a bed stripped of rough sheets, lay a man. He was broad, beard coarse, chest rising shallow, one arm bandaged in dirty cloth, the stain of blood soaking through dark. His lips were cracked, his skin pale beneath sunburn. His eyes flicked open at the sound, fever bright. For a breath, he looked at her as if he knew her name. Clara's throat tightened. The girl rushed to the bedside, kneeling, gripping his hand. "I found her, Daddy. I found her. Mama said she'd come, and she did." The man's eyes closed and opened again, slow as if each blink cost him strength. His lips moved, voice broken. "Water?" Clara set her bag down with a thump. She reached for the pitcher on the table, poured trembling into a cracked cup, and lifted it to his mouth. His breath shuddered as he drank, water spilling down his chin. "See," the girl whispered, almost smiling now, fierce with belief. "She'll fix you," Mama said. Clara stared at them both. The man slipping toward death. The child clinging to faith. Her heart thudded. This wasn't her place. This wasn't her stop. And yet, outside, a horse cried in the distance, sharp and sudden, the sound of fear. Somewhere, a gun cocked. The silence that followed pressed heavy, thick as storm clouds. Clara straightened. The girl still held her skirt. The man's breath rattled shallow. The air itself seemed to demand her choice. The train was long gone, and the wrong stop was already swallowing her whole. The lantern guttered, flame shrinking, and the room sank deeper into gloom. The man's breath rasped like sand dragged over stone. Clara pressed the rag tight against his arm, blood warm against her palm. "Hold it there," she muttered, more to herself than to him. Her fingers shook. The girl crouched close, stared with eyes too wide for her small face. "Is he dying?" Clara swallowed hard. "Not if I can stop it." She peeled back the soaked bandage. The wound gaped ugly, torn by a bullet that had ripped deep and left flesh blackening at the edges. The smell of rot rose up. Her stomach turned, but her hands moved steady. She'd seen worse once, long ago. The man groaned, head rolling, his lips cracked, voice ragged. Who are you?" "Doesn't matter," Clara said, reaching into her bag. "Stay still." She drew out a needle and thread, relics she'd carried for reasons she never dared explain. She held them up to the lantern light, squinting. The glow flashed across steel. The girl flinched. "What's that for?" "To keep him here," Clara whispered. "Now fetch me clean water. Quick." The child darted off, bare feet pounding across the floorboards, and returned with a dented tin cup. Clara rinsed her hands, then pressed cloth against the wound again. Outside, a coyote howled, long and low. The boards of the ranch creaked as if something leaned against them. Clara bent close, needle biting through flesh. The man's whole body shuddered, a sound breaking from him that made the girl clap her hands to her ears. Clara didn't stop. She stitched fast, sure, each pull dragging torn skin together. Sweat stung her eyes, and the lantern flame wavered with her breath. When the last knot tied, she pressed the cloth again, hard. "It's done," she murmured. "Rest now." His chest rose and fell shallow, but steadier. The girl lowered her hands, whispering, "Told you Mama said you come." Clara looked at her then, truly looked. Dirt streaked the child's cheeks, but beneath it was a strange defiance. The same fire she'd seen in soldiers who refused to die though they'd already bled out. "Your mother," Clara began. The girl's face went still, lips pressed tight. She didn't answer. The silence between them swelled until Clara turned back to the man. His fevered eyes cracked open again, locking on her face. "They'll come back," he rasped. "They always come back at night." The board shuddered under a sudden gust, dust whispering through the cracks. Clara straightened, heart quickening. "Who?" He coughed, blood flecking his beard. "Boone's men want the water, want the land." His head rolled to the side, eyes closing. The girl spoke flat, like reciting truth she had heard too many times. "They shot him at the well, left him for dead." The lantern sputtered again. Clara felt the weight of the shadows pressing close. Every creak outside louder now, every brush of wind carrying menace. "You can't stay here," she said sharply. "It isn't safe." The girl's fingers dug into Clara's skirt again, hard. "We can't leave. He can't move. You can't either." The child's voice was fierce, more command than plea. Clara stared at her, stunned by the certainty in those small eyes. From a corner of the room came a sound. Hooves shifting in dirt, slow, deliberate. A horse outside. Then another. Clara's blood ran cold. She stepped to the window, eased a ragged curtain aside. Moonlight lit the canyon edge. Beyond the yard, two riders sat their horses, still as stone, watching the house. No lanterns, no words, just the shape of rifles across their saddles. The girl's whisper floated up behind her. "Told you they'd come back." Clara let the curtain fall. She moved fast, snuffing the lantern with a pinch of her fingers. Darkness swallowed them whole. The man groaned, restless. She laid a hand on his chest, firm, willing him silent. The girl pressed close to her side. The house held its breath. From outside came a low chuckle, a man's voice cruel and certain. "Reckon he's dead yet?" Another voice answered, "If not, we'll finish it tomorrow." Their horses shifted, iron shoes clinking against rock. Then the sound faded, hooves carrying them back into the canyon. Clara exhaled, only then realizing she had been holding her breath. The child clung to her arm, whispering, "See? They'll come back. Always." Clara smoothed the girl's hair, her hand trembling. Her own chest ached with something she hadn't felt in years. Fear so sharp it made her teeth hurt. The man on the bed stirred, muttering, "Stay, just stay till morning." Clara lowered herself into the chair by his side, eyes fixed on the dark window. The night stretched long and merciless, every shadow thick with threat, every sound outside a warning. The wrong stop had become a prison of silence and waiting, and dawn felt farther than it had ever been. Gunfire cracked the silence. A bullet tore through the window frame, with splintering across Clara's cheek. She ducked low, pulling the girl down with her. The man on the bed groaned, trying to lift himself, but the weight of fever pinned him. "Stay down," Clara hissed, heart hammering. The girl's small body pressed into her side, trembling, though her eyes were dry and fierce. "They're here." Outside, hoofs churned the dirt. Men shouted, voices sharp with laughter. Shadows moved against the pale wash of moonlight. Clara's fingers found a rifle leaning in the corner. Heavy, cold. It fit against her shoulder with a memory she had long buried. She drew breath slow, steady, and worked the lever with a click that filled the dark. Another shot rang. Glass shattered, scattering across the floor. The man groaned again, weak but urgent. Don't fight them." Clara's jaw clenched. She peered through the ragged hole in the curtain. Lanterns bobbed in the canyon's mouth. 5, 6, maybe more. Their horses pawed the ground, snorting, restless under the weight of riders who waited for her to flinch. One voice rose above the others, cruel and mocking. "McGraw, we know you're in there. Ain't no use hiding. The ranch is ours come sunrise." The girl's hand tightened on Clara's sleeve. Clara's pulse steadied, her breath smoothing into the rhythm she had once known among broken men on broken fields. She whispered low, fetched the box from under the table. The child scrambled quick, dragging a wooden crate across the floor. Inside lay shells, tarnished but whole. Clara slid one into the chamber, the metallic snap echoing like a promise. The riders hooted, firing into the air. Sparks rained from a torch one man carried, the flames licking high against the dark. Clara eased the barrel through the window's break, sighted steady on the torch. She squeezed. The shot cracked like thunder. The torch exploded in sparks, clattering to the dirt. The riders shouted, horses rearing. "Who the hell fired that?" A voice bellowed. Clara pulled the rifle back, breath tight in her chest. The girl grinned sharp, eyes wide with awe. "You hit it." Clara didn't answer. She was already reloading, hands sure, movement swift. From outside came another voice, low and dangerous. "That weren't McGraw." The silence that followed was heavy. Clara could feel the men thinking, realizing. A woman's hand had steadied that rifle. The riders spread out, shadows shifting along the fence line. A rock smashed through the window, clattering against the wall. Another bullet slammed into the door, splintering wood. Clara crouched low, pulling the girl against her. The man on the bed whispered hoarse, "Leave me. Take the child." "Quiet," Clara snapped. She checked the window again. 2 men had dismounted, creeping along the corral. Their outlines glimmered faint against the silver wash of moonlight. She leveled the rifle. One breath, one squeeze. A man dropped, crying out as he hit the dirt. His partner bolted, horse screaming as it tore away into the dark. The night exploded with shouts. Gunfire hammered the walls, boards shuddering under the storm. The girl pressed her face into Clara's shoulder, but her voice carried fierce. "Don't let him in." Clara's teeth bared. She fired again, with cracking, a rider tumbling from his saddle. Another shot, another scream. The dark smelled of gunpowder, hot and bitter. Then silence, only the hiss of the dying torch, the distant cry of coyotes, the sound of her own heart beating like a drum. The girl lifted her head. Did you scare him off? Clara shook her head. She knew that kind of silence. It was waiting, watching. Men like these didn't run from one woman with a gun. Not yet. Then came the sound she had feared. Hoofbeats, steady, measured. A new rider entered the yard. The others parted for him, their shadows bowing low. His voice carried, cold as steel. Bring me the child, and the ranch is mine. Resist, and you'll watch it burn. The girl stiffened, fingers clawing into Clara's arm. That's Boone. The name hung heavy in the air. Even the night seemed to recoil. Clara rose just enough to peer through the shattered frame. Boone sat his horse tall, broad shoulders wrapped in a long black coat, hat brim hiding his eyes. His hand rested lazy on the pistol at his side, as if certain he'd never miss. "McGraw," Boone called again, voice like gravel. "Don't send a woman to die in your place. Come out and I'll let her walk." Clara's hands tightened on the rifle. She knew men like him. She had seen him in every war, every burned field. They never let anyone walk. The man on the bed coughed, choking, trying to sit. Clara pressed him down with a firm hand. "No, not you." The girl's whisper was fierce in the dark. "Don't go. Don't let him take me." Another bullet split the doorframe, exploding into the room. Boone's voice cut through the gun smoke. "You got till dawn. After that, this house is ash." The riders cheered, cruel and certain. Then, as one, they wheeled their horses and melted back into the canyon shadows, leaving only silence and the stench of fear. Clara lowered the rifle, breath shuddering. The girl clung to her arm like iron. The man groaned, drifting near unconsciousness. Clara stared into the dark window, where Boone's shadow had burned itself into her sight. She felt the truth settle heavy in her chest. Dawn would bring fire, and she was the only one standing in its way. The sky burned red at the edges, dawn clawing its way over the canyon walls. Smoke drifted low across the yard where the fence still smoldered. The boards of the ranch house shivered with every hoofbeat outside. Boone's voice carried through the thin morning air. "Last chance," sent out the girl. Clara pulled the duster coat over her shoulders. It swallowed her frame, the weight of it grounding her. She slid the rifle into her hands, checked the chamber, and breathed deep. The girl clutched her sleeve. "Don't go." Clara knelt, touching her cheek. "You keep him alive. That's your fight." She tipped her head toward the wounded man on the bed. His breathing rattled, but his eyes cracked open, watching her with something between fear and faith. Clara rose. The door groaned as she pushed it open. Dust swirled around her boots. The yard stood full of riders, torches guttering in the morning wind. Boone sat in the center, tall in the saddle, black coat hanging like a shadow around him. His pistol gleamed at his hip. Clara stepped out slow, rifle balance easy in her hands. The riders muttered, shifting in their saddles, uncertain. Boone's mouth twisted. "So it's true. McGraw's house guarded by a widow." His laugh cut sharp. "Put down that gun before it breaks your arms." Clara's voice carried steady. "You wanted a fight. You've got one." Boone's eyes narrowed. He swung off his horse, boots sinking into the dirt. The men around him fell quiet. He touched the brim of his hat, mocking. "You think you can stand against me?" Clara raised a rifle to her shoulder. "I don't think. I know." For a moment, silence hung heavy. The wind whistled through the canyon, like a drum roll. Boone's hand dropped to his pistol. The world slowed. Clara squeezed. The rifle cracked, thunder rolling against stone. Boone staggered, hand frozen halfway to his gun. Dust burst around his boots as he fell hard into the dirt. The riders gasped, some reaching for weapons, others reining back their horses. Clara worked the lever, chambering another round, her eyes never leaving them. "Any man who wants to join him," she called, voice sharp as broken glass. "Step forward." The silence split. A horse reared, another bolted. One rider turned tail, galloping hard for canyon. The rest followed, scattering like crows from gunfire. Clara lowered the rifle only when the last hoofbeat faded. Boone lay still in the dirt, his shadow stretching long beneath the rising sun. She stood alone in the yard, the echo of the shot still ringing through the canyon. Behind her, the door creaked. The girl ran out, hair flying, eyes wide with awe. She flung herself against Clara's side, clinging hard. "You did it," she whispered. "Mama said you would." Clara's throat tightened. She dropped a hand to the child's back, steadying her. "It's done." The wounded man's voice carried weak from the doorway. "No, it's begun." Clara turned. He leaned against the frame, pale but standing, his gaze locked on Boone's body. His breath came ragged, but his eyes held the same fire as a child's. Clara looked past him to the horizon, where the sun rose clean over the canyon rim. The ranch stood battered, but standing. The air smelled of smoke and blood, but also of something new. Space enough for breath, for life. She tightened her grip on the rifle, the weight of it familiar now, rightful. The girl's voice lifted soft, reverent. "They'll tell about this." Clara met her eyes, and for the first time in years, she let a thin smile break through. Then let them tell it true. The wind carried the words out across the plain, through the canyon, and into the waiting silence, like the beginning of a story meant to be told forever.